Hello, cruel world. This is Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer, Common Sense Academy, going live about a half hour before my scheduled time. The reason I'm doing that is because tonight I am tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. I had to be up early, and I had trouble falling asleep. I don't know why, but that tends to happen to me early in the week. So here I am going live about a half hour early. I'll probably go till about 8:30 tonight. Here to take any questions. If you want to talk about sovereign citizens, let me know. If you want to talk about election drama in Iowa, we can talk about Iowa. If you want to talk about the weather, we can talk about the weather. If you want to jam on the Super Bowl, I'll jam on the Super Bowl. If you want to chat about the 25-year sentence that was just handed out to sovereign citizens who were accused and convicted of paper terrorism, we can chat about paper terrorism. I'll tell you, as a lawyer, there are some other lawyers that commit some paper terrorism. I'm just kidding, but sort of, but not really. Sort of, but not really. Only got a little bit of my beverage left here, so the same time sip will come. But it wasn't that sip right there. So, what is it, friends, family, common sensors, that you would like to discuss today? Maybe we can dip into the news and talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. We can look at true. See, I'm so tired, I can barely talk. Josh, thank you for joining us. Let's get some life on the chat. I know I'm early. I'm here to talk sovereign citizens. Joshua, thank you for coming. I'm here to talk sovereign citizens, First Amendment auditors, First Amendment rights, real law, fake law, Admiralty law. What exactly? Okay, so I'll tell you what I know about Admiralty law, sir. When I was in law school, okay, when you're in law school, you have competitions. Hey, Bob. When you're in law school, there's competitions. And I was, for example, I was on the trial team. No, Carl, I'm Batman. You can be Spider-Man. I was on a trial advocacy team, so I traveled the country doing mock trials. Okay, it was a lot of fun. It taught me a lot. They would make up fake fact patterns. Sometimes it was criminal, sometimes it was civil litigation. We also had an appellate moot court team. Moot court, appellate court means that you just practice your arguments in front of a judge. Like, say, for example, you were going to go and argue before the Supreme Court or an appeals court. It's not a trial. You're just arguing the law. Okay. There's a yearly moot court competition strictly on Admiralty law. Admiralty law, maritime law, or the law of the sea is a body of law that governs nautical issues and private maritime disputes. Admiralty law consists of both domestic law on maritime activities and private international law. Blah, blah, blah. Let's be honest. Out on the seas, there really isn't that much law. What's the limit? 20 miles? Hold on, 20 miles. Doesn't every country get 20 miles out into the ocean from their shoreline? Okay, but like, say you're in the middle of the middle of. I just got the best Joe screenshot ever. This one is a keeper. That's creepy, Carl. That's creepy. That dude who did so if you're out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, let's face it. No law applies to you, okay? Don't no law apply to you. All right, 3 nautical miles. There you go. What law really applies to you? The law that maybe applies to you is the law of your home country, because when you get back, they can hold you responsible, okay? Maybe the thing to do is to get your own private sovereign island All right. And then when you go out in the middle of the ocean and commit heinous crimes, you can come back to your island and nobody's going to hold you responsible for it. That may be the case. That may be the case. So Admiralty law is pretty funny and pretty interesting. Trial by combat. Who watched Game of Thrones? The trial. So the best trial by combat in Game of Thrones was absolutely when Tyrion was in the Eyrie and the queen and her son wanted to throw Tyrion. They wanted to watch the little man fly. They wanted to throw Tyrion out that hole to drop, I don't know, a couple thousand feet down to the land and be dashed on some rocks. So yeah, most private islands do fall under someone's jurisdiction. So they wanted to throw Tyrion out of that hall, and he asked Bronn to fight for him. And Bronn fights that night, Sir Loras. Sir Loras. See, I know Game of Thrones maybe a little too well. Sir Loras steps up to fight for Eyrie, and Bronn steps up to fight for the little man, for Tyrion. And that is one of the best. It's the best trial by combat I've ever seen. And it's one of the best sword fights that you're going to see on screen. Love that scene. Love that scene. Trial by combat didn't go out of style. It was really in style a lot sooner than you think. Back in revolutionary times. What was it? 8 paces, step back, 10 paces, turn around and shoot. I mean, dueling is essentially trial by combat. Well, maybe that's the core of the Admiralty law argument for the sovereign citizens is if you're far enough out on sea, you can't be held responsible. So that's why they go to the Admiralty law. Now I get it. Well, yeah, I know, but the 18th century really wasn't that long ago in the big picture, Carl. You know what I mean? A couple hundred years ago. It's only a couple of generations. Some of your grandparents might have been involved in duels. The flag state has jurisdiction beyond the coastal limits. I was just reading about it because of a scene in Poldark. What's Poldark? Can't hold me responsible anywhere. Yeah, that's basically how it goes. You guys follow that McAfee dude? What's his name? Fred McAfee or whatever? John McAfee, who went down to Belize and I don't know, a bunch of drug dealers robbed his house and a couple people were killed and he had to flee Belize. And now I believe he's in the United States. And he's still, I think he's still a fugitive from the law. And he's a billionaire, but he's got warrants out. John McAfee, yeah, that dude's a maniac. You want to talk about a true sovereign citizen? I'll tell you how to actually become. You want to be a real sovereign citizen and make sure the rules don't apply to you. Okay, make $1 billion fucking dollars. Once you make $1 billion, the laws no longer apply to you. Billionaires are the true sovereign citizens. John McAfee is a British-American computer programmer and businessman. Presidential campaign, blah, 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 personal life. The night after McAfee arrived in the he was deported from Guatemala. After being deported from Guatemala in December 2012, he was solicited by Dyson, then a prostitute at South Beach, Florida, and the two spent the night together. McAfee and Dyson, more than 30 years McAfee's junior, subsequently began a relationship and married. So he married a prostitute. Okay, interesting. He's a billionaire and he's basically a sovereign citizen. I mean, the laws don't apply to him. McAfee originally took up residence in Portland In 2012, the magazine of American Mensa stated being the developer of the first commercial antivirus program has made him the most popular hacking target. Hackers see me as a badge of honor. When asked on another occasion if he personally uses McAfee antivirus software, McAfee replied, "I take it off. It's too annoying." I take it off too. But I'm telling you, McAfee is the true sovereign citizen. McAfee has taught yoga and written several books about yoga. McAfee claims the former cocaine baron Boston George Jung is writing his official biography, no domain. McAfee announced in 2018 he had been unconscious and hospitalized for 2 days at a medical center in Greenville, North Carolina, due to malicious tampering of something he ingested. McAfee has stated several times on Twitter that he has 47 biological lawyers. for lawyers. Oh my God. 47 biological children. This dude is a maniac. The guy who got 25 years was, how would you help him as a defense lawyer? Well, Joe Don Ho, here's the thing. He already lost. I mean, if his lawyer couldn't get him less than 25 years before he got sentenced, I feel like he did something wrong. But here's the truth of the matter. When you're indicted in federal court, you are in for a ride, okay? Because the federal sentencing guidelines are pretty damn strict. And if the federal court's coming after you, this is my opinion, okay, there's some sort of political agenda behind it. So you're usually going to get nailed to the wall. So be honest, in a framework of federal court, 25 years isn't actually that. I mean, that's bad no matter what. I mean, that's a third of your life at least. So 25 years is harsh. But it can get worse in federal court, but it could be better too. I don't know I'd need to know more. I need to know all the charges against him. Did he actually cause the loss of money in these organizations? That can be a big deal to really make an opinion on whether or not the 25-year sentence was valid. So I'll just say without right, no parole, Ed, you're correct. Bob, I'm sorry. So I'll just say this, without knowing more about the case, you know, the most I can say that the most I can say is that I felt like it was harsh. You know, listen, his attorney might have got him 25 when they were shooting for 40 or 50. So his attorney might have done a good job at the end of the day. It's too hard for me on the outside looking in to say one way or another what was deserving at the end of the day. If you Google the case where the Sov got 25, the docket entries make it clear he's irritating the court throughout the trial and not letting his lawyer. What a surprise there, Paul. See, I mean, that's the problem. You know, if he would have maybe renounced his sovereign citizenship and allowed the lawyer to help him through the court system, he might have got a lesser sentence. But yeah, not showing remorse will get you tagged. And this guy got tagged. I mean, he got launched. The judge put mail restrictions. Oh, thank you for the updates, Paul. We truly appreciate it. Put mail restrictions on and banned him from filing anything. His lawyer was also asking the judge to be allowed to withdraw his counsel. Yeah, I mean, there becomes a certain point when you really can't help somebody, because if they're not cooperating with you, at least to some degree, you can't help them as an attorney. And you'll try to get out, but sometimes the judges will make you stay on just because they want a lawyer standing there. And it's not that the judges care that much, but for appeal purposes, because you know a lunatic like this is going to appeal, what'll happen is he'll cry throughout the whole trial, I didn't want an attorney. I don't want an attorney. Get this attorney away from me. And then when he goes to prison, he's on appeal. He's going to write in his appeal, I didn't have counsel. I didn't have effective assistance of counsel. My attorney screwed it up, blah, blah, blah. So the judge is basically covering her ass and the ass of everybody involved by at the very least making an attorney stand there and act as like sidebar counsel. You wonder if the creators of virus protection don't employ people to come up with new viruses to keep their software going. Gary, I absolutely would believe that, and it would not surprise me one bit. Listen, I've never been an advocate of virus software. I've almost never used it. I think that if you're smart about what you do online, you stick to websites that you know, don't open stupid emails, don't click on spammy websites, you're going to be okay. Not to say you won't get the occasional virus. All right. But I really don't think it's necessary to a large degree. And not to say that that may not bite you in your ass, but I've never really been bit in the ass with viruses. I've caught viruses, but just little ones. Does it hurt the attorney's rep to represent? No, I mean, Bob, listen, I'll tell you what happened with these attorneys. No, it doesn't hurt their reputation at all because everybody knows what they're dealing with. And number one, this attorney who represented him was probably a public defender or he was court appointed. So, for instance, I do court appointed work where the public defenders are. So the public defender employs about 20 attorneys, let's say, hypothetically. It's probably a little more than that in Pittsburgh. 20 lawyers, well, they can't handle all the work that comes in. All right. They can handle a lot of it, not all of it. So the court also has to appoint private attorneys like me. And they'll give us a phone call, say, hey, do you want this case? And then the court pays us. We're like public defenders. Okay. We get paid an hourly or flat fee rate. It's not that much, but it supplements a practice to represent these people who can't otherwise afford attorneys. Now, federal public defender, federal court appointments, actually you can make some money on. But you become a federal court-appointed defender, and this lawyer's standing there. He's getting paid by the hour, probably a decent hourly wage, to stand there while this sovereign citizen makes a fool of himself. Frankly, it doesn't affect his reputation at all. And here's the thing, too. As a criminal defense attorney, you're already stepping into a world where you're going to represent people who are not good people. They've done bad things. So if you think by virtue of just being a criminal defense attorney that someone's a bad person, then okay, you've made your mind up and you're going to think whatever you want. All right. But once you've entered that world, it's generally acceptable to represent almost anyone. There are very sensitive cases like mass shootings and cop killers where, like, I would turn those cases down. Most private defense attorneys are going to not take those cases, no matter how much you get paid. But it is acceptable within the community, and this is interesting, sort of social psychology. It is acceptable in the community for public defenders who are assigned the case to represent people in that situation. And the prosecutors and the cops ultimately aren't going to give you a hard time because they understand that the court requires that someone represent these people. But we're talking cop killers and mass shooters, okay? Most other murderers, if you get hired privately, nobody's going to hold it against you on a homicide case. Gary, I use a Mac. So, yeah, I use a Mac. I've never had significant virus problems. I've been using the Mac for 10 plus years. I'm just telling you my own personal experience. I'm not a scientist when it comes to virus software. I'm sure that it serves a very good purpose. I just never thought to spend the money because, to me, I just never believed it was necessary. I never really got viruses. I didn't need to. What's the percentage of clients that try to use ineffective assistance counsel in their appeals? Well, if they're convicted and they go to jail for longer than 1 year, the percentage is about 95%. Every single one of them are going to file an ineffective assistance counsel appeal. And we do these all the time. And so sometimes the court will appoint attorneys to handle these. And if the attorney looks it over and sees that it has no merit, they can do what's called a no merit letter to the court, and the court will dismiss these. But yeah, I mean, you can imagine, I'm sure you guys can imagine, if you were convicted to 25 years like this sovereign citizen or a life sentence for some other people, those people are going to spend their time just filing appeals. May not be the only thing that they do with their time, but they have a lot of time on their hands and they have access to a law library. So they're going to go to the law library and they're going to file appeal after appeal after appeal after appeal. And they're going to keep fighting the case. I could never represent a cop killer, but I work in public safety, so my viewpoint is admittedly skewed. Yeah, those are kind of the two big no-nos, at least what I've seen in my short time in practice. You know, we had the synagogue shooter here, the Tree of Life here in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago, and he did get a federal public defender, and it was seen as acceptable because that public defender had to do their job. Now, you know, several years ago, there was a mass shooter, a guy who killed a bunch of cops, Poplovsky. These cops came to the house. The mother called the police and said, "My son is going wild. He's attacking me." The police respond. The guy's got, you know, AR-15. He might have had an AK-47, a whole arsenal. Police came up. 2 cops came up. Boom, boom, boom. He mowed him down right outside his house. I believe 3 officers were ultimately killed. 4 were wounded in a multi-hour standoff with this individual. And none of the private defense attorneys would take the case. So it went to the public defender, and a public defender took the case. And, you know, everybody saw it as just that individual was just doing her duty. You know, that's it. Makes you want to have them 95%. Yeah, Bob. I mean, here's the thing. Most of them don't go anywhere. And I may be skewing. That number's probably high. But the truth of the matter is anybody who gets a significantly long sentence is going to file one. You know, people get 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 3 to 6. They don't necessarily file one. 5 to 10, maybe not. But when you start to get into steeper sentences, you better believe that they're going to file someone. Yeah, that's who I believe I'm talking to, cop killer from East Liberty. Is that Poplovsky? Oh, that dude, the dude from East Liberty, was that years ago? Let's look that up. Who was that? There was a couple of mass shootings here in Pittsburgh. I don't know if they ever executed that guy. I doubt it because it's been a long time since Pennsylvania has executed anybody. So I doubt it. And Poplovsky, I don't know if he got the death sentence. Yeah, Poplovsky. I know he's not been executed. He is not. How does the mob get represented in court? Look, Joe Dono, they got a lot of money, man. There's not a big mob presence here in Pittsburgh, at least not anymore. There used to be. But I haven't seen many individuals like that in my short time practicing criminal defense. If you pay attention to the mob out in New York City, yeah, I mean they have a lot of money. I mean, we're talking long money. They hire some of the best criminal defense attorneys in the country. Okay, and like the guy who represented John Gotti Jr. is legendary. Okay, he got John Gotti Jr. John Gotti Jr. beat like 3 or 4 major cases. Now they got him on 1 or 2 cases, and he did some prison time. But his attorney is legendary. That guy's old now. I mean, in a couple generations, there won't even be a lawyer alive who represented the mob. The mob, frankly, it barely exists. I mean, it exists in New York City and New Jersey. It might exist in a couple of other cities, but it's nothing what it used to be. It's nothing what it used to be. Oscar Goodman. Yeah, that name sounds familiar, Barbecue Bob. That sounds about right. Represent the mob. Hey, Las Vegas was the capital of the mob. I doubt the mob is eligible for for a public defender. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Gary. I mean, come on now. And these guys have money, man. If you got long money, you're gonna get an attorney to match that money that you have. No doubt. No doubt. Dun, 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 dun. Gotti's cases were very complex. Yeah, I mean, so you had obviously the senior John Gotti, who all the movies are made of. He's doing a life term. He beat a bunch of cases, and they finally got him. Now, John Gotti Jr., the interesting thing about John Gotti Jr., I watched a couple documentaries on him, is, you know, he was involved in the family, but he was born into it, and he got out of it. But the feds kept going after him. Like, even when he was done, they kept going after him. Okay. And he owns like this beautiful giant house on a golf course. It was probably paid for by mob money. He claims it was all paid for through legitimate business sources, but those businesses were probably started with mob money. Regardless, the feds, if you watch this documentary, the feds wanted his house so bad. They wanted his house so bad and they couldn't get it, and they kept putting him in jail. They took everything from him, but he kept his house, and he's still in that house to this day. And the one reporter was walking with him in his documentary, and he's like, yeah, and he's pointing over there. He's like, yeah, that's where they sit. They sit over there and they listen and they watch me. They were constantly had his house under surveillance. You know what they said in The Sopranos, and I think there's truth to this. I've done research. Is that the law enforcement focus on the mob sort of shut down after 9/11, because now law enforcement was focused on terrorism, and especially federal law enforcement. They didn't have the resources to look after the mob like they did back in the 80s and 90s. So maybe the mob's just. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still exists, but it flies under the radar. Whitey Bulger, they asked him, he said if they returned his 800 grand. Yeah, I mean, the thing is to pay your attorney before they get your money, because once the attorney's paid, that money, the attorney's actually protected. They end up pulling an Al Capone and get him for tax evasion. Right, exactly. I mean, they'll find some way to get these guys. Financial crimes are so, I mean, a lot of, I don't want to say any, but big businessmen, small business owners, it's easy to nail people on financial crimes if you look hard enough. Let's see, what did I have going on today? Today I went to a magistrate court in the morning, and I represented a client on a couple of traffic offenses. Good evening, Joseph. I represented a client on a couple of traffic offenses. One of the officers didn't show up. The other officer showed up. Here's the thing with fighting traffic tickets. You got to plead not guilty and go in, because half the time, sometimes the officers don't show up. Sometimes they come in, okay, and they don't want to deal with it. They want to get out of there. If there's a lawyer there, they can make a deal quickly, bing, bang, boom, just so they can go home. You can make something happen. Just so you can go home, you can make something happen. So I got some good results at small claims magistrate traffic court this morning. Then I went and visited an individual in the jail, in the jail for one of the smaller counties. And it was a good visit. Hello, Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Joseph Hassan. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you guys coming in. So I'm a little lower energy today. That's why I started early. I'm going to go for about another 30 minutes. We'll have some fun. We'll chat. See, I got my Joe the Lawyer sign up here. Everybody likes my signs. Hey, Pete. Thanks for joining us. Top of the day to you. I don't know all the sayings up in the UK, but I love tea, and I love the United Kingdom. That's going to be my next. Well, I have 2 more overseas trips. Happy Brexit. I have 2 more. My 2 priorities in visiting Europe. So I've been to Japan twice, and I've been to Italy twice. Next, I want to go back to Italy, and I want to go to southern Italy, which is where some of my ancestors are from, if that wasn't obvious already. Calabria and Sicily. I want to go to Calabria and Sicily, southern Italy. Hey, Joe Donho. Who specializes? Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it very much. Who's ciao and konnichiwa, exactly. Who specializes in representing sovereign citizens? Well, Giordano, they specialize in representing themselves. I think we've seen that. But there is this dude. Okay, I'll get back. Okay, there's this dude, since you asked me. There's this wild dude that I watched. Common law, sovereign, citizen, old dude. There's this guy, he'd teach the common law. He'd be like, I'm teaching the common law. He's got this crazy name. Who's seen him? Okay, the guy who I have a mob story, Ed. I have a mob story. I'll tell that in a second. Who was the guy who like Ichabod Crane? He's got the big white beard and he goes around the country and does these sovereign citizen seminars. Where the hell is he? Sovereign common law seminars. Boom, 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 boom. Man, there's so much crap on YouTube now. I can't even find what I want. Aldontian McAllister. Who has watched Aldontian McAllister? This dude has like 1 million views. Yeah, Sov Sick Clause. Exactly. Who's seen him? Giordano, have you seen him? Okay, this guy, Aldontian. Hold on here. Okay, he's got 6,000 subscribers, and some of his videos have like 500,000 views. When I've watched his full videos before. Okay, Aldontian, yes, Bob, you've seen him. Pete, you've seen him. That guy is the sovereign citizen lawyer, okay? And this dude, here's the funny thing about, I like him, okay? That's the thing. You gotta like this guy. He's got this weird hat on, his glasses, this giant white beard, a very folksy sort of sense to him. He's funny, he's cheerful, all right? He's very charismatic, but he's using his tools for evil. He's using his tools for evil, okay? Some people are talented and they use their talents for good. Some use them for evil, right? I don't want to talk about, bad figures in history, but there were figures in history who had amazing oratory skills, but they used them for evil purposes. If they would have put those powers to the social good, or to helping people, they could have been so much more effective, even if they would have went into business. He's not a lawyer, Gary. He is not a lawyer, sir. He is the fakest lawyer you're ever going to see, okay? He's a Sov Sit lawyer. He claims to be essentially a lawyer of the common law, the real common law, since barred attorneys like me are sworn to old King George. Okay, Aldontian McAllister. Look him up. Watch some of his videos. He's one of the people out here scamming these people, and he travels around the country preaching sovereign citizenship, and that's what he does. It's terrible. It's terrible. Ed, First Amendment Ed, $5 to put a hit on auditing America. All right, next. I've done videos on them. I'll do some more on them. They're the guys. Let's talk about that. Okay. They're the guys who sent the 2 auditors into the post office to see, what is it? Poster 1311, poster 9, poster 13. Okay. Listen, if you're going to be if you're going to audit, all right, if you're going to videotape, all right, and you're videotaping the police, I actually get that, okay? None of us are naive, enough to know that sometimes bad things don't happen, all right, with police and civilian interactions. All right, but getting out there, hey, Chief Tuttle, thank you for coming in. But getting out there and auditing a post office, I'm telling you, man, I mean, that people even watch that video is a shame. And they go in there and they say, it's for news and media purposes. Dude, no. it ain't for, no, it's for your YouTube channel. Why, when you go in there and like when the postmaster comes out and asks you what you're doing, oh, news for media. No, don't lie. Okay, don't lie to him. Tell him it's for YouTube. Okay, you're doing it for YouTube. It's your YouTube channel. You're not out there doing it for news and media. The news doesn't give a shit. Okay, trust me, they don't. They don't care about your auditing. They don't care about your auditing. Did I tell you guys I saw an auditor in the courthouse? I'm an ex-cop. I believe in auditing the cops. Yeah, I mean, it can be a good thing. You know, I think there's places for it if you do it correctly, safely, and at a distance. I mean, I would rather see officers wear body cams and dash cams. But you know, thank you, Lynn. Thank you. You know, I put a lot of thought into that video, and I was trying to sort of get the angle on that video today where I was like, okay, well, maybe what this auditor did was okay, was right. But, you know, that officer had a legitimate reason for walking up to this guy, okay, and asking him what he was doing. I mean, again, these auditors, they're auditing at the scene of an accident. Like, this is an accident. The police are there to help people, okay, get people out of the vehicle, make sure everybody's safe, and make sure that the traffic around them doesn't turn into freaking chaos, okay? And this guy's over here flashing a light at the cops, you know, recording them. It's an accident scene. And then he's going to give the cop attitude. I mean, he would have been within it. I don't know the laws of that particular state, but I could have seen him. You know, just arrest that dude. Jesus. Okay. Pitt. I went to Pitt. Pitt's my alma mater. Pitt is my alma mater. Absolutely. Buy the book. Thank you, Lynn. There was a question that I had here. Is he the guy that wears a weird tie and outfits from the 1700s? Yeah, he is. He got his law degree. Watch a YouTube lawyer, perpetrator of a whole bunch of soft sit rhetoric. I've seen him. Yeah, Heather Tucci specialized in being lawyer for SOVs. Giraffe. Her most recent case was an appeal claiming ineffective, where she got herself 5 years club fed. Yeah, I mean, the illegal practice of law is, well, it's illegal. You got to have a license. So, you guys want to hear who wants to hear my mob story when I was in Italy? Okay. Who wants to hear my mob story? I can even share a picture with you. Taze, welcome. Okay, here comes the mob story. All right. So a couple years ago, I like to travel. I'm a bit of a travel savant. And most of the time I travel with my friends or my family. But a couple of years ago, I took a trip to Italy. I went by myself. Okay. You know, call me what you want. It's, you know, I like to read, experience things on my own. Sometimes I need that time to clear my head. So I go to Italy, and I am in Rome. And if anybody here who's been to Italy, and I saw somebody in the comments said they were stationed in Italy in the military. That's why I was in Japan. So I was in Rome, and I went down to the Colosseum. Okay. And if you've ever been to Rome before, you know, there's a center of town. It's the old Roman Forum. You have the Colosseum. You get this really wild national museum. It's nice on the outside, but you go inside, it's kind of boring. Like this National Military Museum, beautiful on the outside. Okay. You got the Colosseum. You got the old Roman Forum, ruins sort of everywhere, coffee shops and restaurants all around, trees. It's beautiful. All right. But that's like the main spot for tourist Rome. Okay. And when you're there, I'll tell you, it annoyed the shit out of me. You'd be walking down the street and vendors come up to you, and they'll just put things on, like these guys trying to sell stuff in the streets, just put a bracelet right on your hand. Just put a bracelet. They'll tell you it's free. One guy told me it's free. I said, okay, thank you. I started to walk away. He goes, oh, no. You got to buy something else. You said it was free. Anyway, back to my story. I'm walking around down by the Colosseum, And, there's a lot of people, a lot of weirdos probably, like when you're in downtown New York, okay, Times Square. Anyway, I'm walking around and there's these two dudes in a freaking, okay, these two dudes that are dressed as Roman soldiers, okay, and their costumes are fantastic. I'm telling you, if you've seen the movie Gladiator and you see the Roman soldiers in Gladiator, and then I'm standing outside the Colosseum on a beautiful September day, and there's two Roman soldiers standing there, like straight out of the freaking movie Gladiator. And these guys see me and they can tell by the way I'm dressed and the way I walk, and they don't hear me talk, but they don't need to. They know this guy's an American. Okay. He's a target. I didn't know this at the time. I was just, I'm in Rome in La La Land. This is how they get people. So these two Roman soldiers walk up to me, full body armor. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, you American? Yeah, I'm American. They speak some English. And they go, and I go, oh, your costumes are great. They look, oh, I goes, thank you, thank you. Where are you from? This and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm from Pittsburgh. Oh, I know Pittsburgh. They don't know where Pittsburgh is. No, they don't know where Pittsburgh is. Okay. But you know what everybody says? Oh, is that by New York or is that by Philadelphia? Yeah, sure. Right by New York. Okay. So then you want a picture with us, me being stupid, being naive, and probably a little overconfident. Okay, I say, yeah, I'll take a picture because their costumes, I'm telling you, freaking awesome. So the one Roman soldier comes and he stands next to me and he puts his arm around me and he starts pointing in the air and he's posing and he's doing all these poses. Okay, and I'm smiling and I'm like, being nerded out. Okay, and the other Roman soldiers taking pictures with my phone. So they finish taking the pictures and they keep schmoozing me. Oh, nice, Pittsburgh. Thank you. I'm so glad. Are you enjoying your time in Italy? Did you go here? Did you try this? Did you try the gelato? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the conversation's going on a little longer. And I'm starting to get uncomfortable. And I go, all right. I go, give me my phone back. And he goes, well, we'll give you your phone back, but you got to pay us for the picture. And I go, what? And they go, yeah, you got to pay us for the picture. I go, what do you mean I got to pay you for the picture? I go, you just took a selfie with me. He goes, no, man, no. He goes, this is my job. He goes, this is my job. This is how I feed my kids. I go, give me my phone back or I'm calling the police. They go, pay us. They go, pay me. He goes, it was like 50 euros. He's like, 50 euros. He's like, 50 euros. I was like, give me the phone back or I'm calling the police. So the one dude knew I was serious and I was like, I'll call Polizia. I was like, and here's the thing, they're around. There's especially in those areas, that's a crazy, funny thing about Italy, man, is especially down those areas and maybe terrorism concerned, there are just, I don't know if they're cops or military standing there, with an M16. I mean, every 100 feet, there's a Humvee and a dude, I'm like, this is Italy. Okay. But there's dude highly armored, highly a lot of security. So I was like, give me my phone back. I was like, I'll call the police. Yeah. They gave me the phone back and they were like, come on, man, this is my job. We do this. I need a tip. Can I get a tip? So I was like, yeah, I'll give you a tip. And I gave them 15 euros. Okay. For the picture. It's a cool picture. Now, maybe I paid too much. Actually, look, if you see the picture, and I'm going to show you guys the picture, I think it was worth it because the picture is really cool. And I get it, to a certain degree, I get it. They're out there, hustling to make money. They're dressed up, charge a couple of bucks. But the way they did it was greasy. If they came up to me and said, oh, 5 euros, we'll take a picture with you, I'd have happily done that. Okay. Did they probably get more out of me than in that case? If they would have said 15 euros, I'd probably been like, no. But but because they schemed me and then made me feel guilty and argued with me, I almost paid them those 15 euros to make them go away. Okay. So maybe I got a little jack there. They wanted, I think he had 50 or he wanted 50 or 40 euros. I was like, I'm calling the police. So come to find out later, I have a friend who is, he's not Italian, but he's European. And I posted this story on Facebook. Yeah, 1656. You're right, Gary. I posted this story on Facebook. I'm not embarrassed. I thought it was funny. And he goes, oh, yeah, he's from Bulgaria, but, he's been all around Europe many times. He goes, Joe, he's like, you just got schemed by the mafia. So then I got online and I'm like, what? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking in and, you know, the mafia, they run all these schemes in Rome. And here's the thing. When you think of we think of the Godfather when you think of mafia. Okay. A lot of them are just two-bit hustlers. Okay. Trying to just rustle people out of a couple of dollars. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I know, Taze. I thought it was coming, but I'll show you guys a picture, okay? And I honestly, even to this day, I don't regret it. The $16. I'm telling you, wait till you see these costumes. These these guys were the actors. I can't swear. They're gonna demonetize. These guys were the actors in Gladiator. I swear to God. That's how good their costumes were. So if you ever go to Rome and you go to the Colosseum and you see the dudes dressed as Roman soldiers, you know what's coming. They're mafia and they're going to want money. Here's what you do. I bet if you spotted them first and you said, I'll give you €5, you take a picture with me, it'd be no problem at all. And I was never really scared physically, but they tried to like intimidate me a little bit because they're like, you know, the one guy had my phone. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, give me the phone back. And he gave it back quickly, but there was a little bit of coercion there. They were trying to scare me. He gave it back quickly. All right. Yeah, I shouldn't have handed him my phone. I mean, you're right, Gary. Trust me, I learned my lesson. And to be honest, you know, traveling alone in Italy, that's the worst that happened to me. I probably did okay. Actually, I have one more story. It's very similar if you guys want to hear it. This was in Naples. But I want to show you the picture first. You know, 10 years ago, I used to organize like my photos on Facebook. I was like so concerned, and now I just throw them up. Oh no, I lost him. I'm going to show you guys the picture. Yeah, I saw the Pope, actually. I did see the Pope. I did see the Pope. I can show you that picture, too, if I found my pictures. There's the picture. There's the picture. Number one, the guy sort of looks like me. He's like an older version of myself. Okay. But pretty cool picture, huh? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, that's a good picture. Right? I mean, look at him. Look at that guy. Boom. Pretty freaking good costume. Exactly, Taze. I told you, guy looks just like he looks just ransom photo. Exactly. Exactly, Gary. Oh man, what a trip. It used to be amazing to see the archetypal mob hoods one used to see in New York City and Boston. It was like central casting. I bet, Bob, you know, I'd never really experienced it. I went to Little Italy 10 years ago, but it was nothing like that. Is that before or after you fought him in the arena? We had a trial by combat in the arena. So yeah, no sword. His buddy, they might have had swords. I can't remember. But the picture was cool. The Colosseum at night is amazing. I'll give you one more Italy story. So I'm in Naples. I want to do like a whole stand-up bit about my trip to Italy. I should do a stand-up bit. You guys tell me. You're my test audience. So the first time I went to Italy, I went to Rome and I went to Naples. I spent about 3-4 days in Rome and 3-4 days in Naples. When I was in Naples, I also visited the Isle of Capri. Okay. And Rome, I've never been to France or Northern Europe. Okay. But Rome is, I wouldn't call it overly dirty. Okay. It's, you know, anything that you're going to see at big cities. But traffic is a little crazy, but it was fairly organized. The people were fairly polite. Okay. None of the it's what I imagine France is sort of like, okay, or Southern France. I don't know. Okay. It was very nice. I mean, Rome's beautiful. Rome is absolutely beautiful. Okay. And I was never really scared, never feel fearful walking on the streets, except for that incident down there at the Colosseum. Okay. And then I went to Naples. Let me tell you something. Naples is it's the craziest city I have ever been to. Okay. Rome, you could almost say that's like a city in the United States. You go to Naples and it's like out of a freaking movie. Okay. And yeah, Naples was dirty. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. There's people freaking everywhere. You get into cars and they still have guys with the squeegees running up to you. All right. I was at the train station in Naples, and one of these military guys that are everywhere come up to me checking my ID and shit. I got ID'd. I should have told him I was a First Amendment auditor. Get off my back. I'm here auditing you. So I'm in Naples, and I got more stories than one. I'm in Naples, and I'm at the train station, and I had already traveled around the city a little bit. I stayed in this beautiful house on the hill, or an apartment on the hill. I had a view of the entire bay, so I could see the city swoop around like this, pristine Mediterranean water, the Vesuvius in the background. I mean, out of a dream. So, yeah, Carl, I'm telling you, man, it's like nothing I've ever seen in an American city. Okay. But I don't know. I'm sure there's some American cities like it. So anyway, I bet they would have. So I go to get a taxi. Okay. And I go and they have these taxi stands outside the train stations. There's taxi stands. So I go up to the taxi stand and there's a guy up front and all the taxis are lined up. And if you read your little tour book, okay, they tell you to use these taxi stands. It's very orderly. Okay. There's rows and the taxis wait in line until they get their next rides. Okay. You don't really want to wave them down. You want to sort of follow those rules. So I go up to the taxi stand, I see it, and there's a guy standing there, and I go, "Hey, can I get a taxi?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, and then you're American? Are you American? Yeah, I'm American. Okay, oh we have a taxi driver who speaks English. We have a guy who speaks English." I go, "Just give me the one right here. I've been riding in taxis with Italians that didn't speak English for days." Okay, I'm like, "Just give me the one right here." "Oh no, we have a special driver for you. We have a special driver for you. Be right up." Okay, he wasn't right up. This jagoff made me stand there for almost 10 minutes. So finally, they run to the back. I don't know. They had to pull cars out so this one dude could pull out, comes around. All right, and this guy picks me up. All right, here's his thing. He speaks English. Okay, small dude, not intimidating at all. All right, probably in his 50s. He picks me up and he starts again. It's all the schmoozing. "Oh, you're from the United States. Where are you from?" Just like these other guys. "I've been to New York City. I have family. I love New York City." And I tell them I'm from Pittsburgh. And he goes, "Oh, I know Pittsburgh." I'm like, "Bro, again, you don't know Pittsburgh. You don't know Pittsburgh. Trust me." Maybe this guy heard of it because he's actually been to the U.S. Okay. So we're driving. Here's the thing. I'm sitting in the back of this taxi, and you're supposed to be able to see the meter. And it seemed to me like he had all this junk in there, first of all. And the meter was like the steering wheel's here and the meter's like right next to the steering wheel. He's got all this other junk. I can barely see the meter. It was like he sort of hid the meter from me. Okay. And we're driving and I can't really see the meter and he's just chatting my face off the whole time. Okay. And I knew the way he was, first of all, I was pretty sure the way he was taken was longer because I had already taken a taxi from that train station to my apartment. So he's driving me and I'm like, "Why are you going this way?" Like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. I'll just say shit to people. Okay. Just to get a reaction. I was like, "Why are you going this way?" "Oh, this way's faster. This way's faster." So finally we get up there and he's schmoozing me the whole way. "You need to do this in Naples and you need to try this. And oh, you went to the Isle of Capri. It's so beautiful." And we get to the apartment, and he like moved them in the meter and he's like, Oh, it's 60 euros, 60 euros. I go 60 euros. I go again. This is how they try to get. I go. I took the same tax. I took a taxi the same way. Okay, yesterday it was 25 euros. Okay, or like 20 euros. He's like, but there was traffic and I had to get you around and this and that. And I said to him, I was just like beating his head in with logic, which is what you have to do with these sovereign citizens. And I was like, look, I don't give a shit if you took me a longer way. Okay. I'm not paying you 50 euros. I was like, I'm not paying you 50 euros for that drive. It took me 25 euros earlier. Oh, well, you do this and that. I'm telling you, I got the meter. Look at the meter. I don't trust your meter. Your meter's fake, dude. And I couldn't even see it half the time. Okay, so we compromised, and I gave him like 35 euros or something, or 30 euros. And I said, that's the tip. I was like, look, I'll give you 30. I think I might have given him, I was like, here you go, 35 euros. I gave him the 10 euro tip. So, here's the thing. Neither of these instances did I like really get ripped off, but they nickel and dime me. Okay. They nickel and dime me. I've been back. I've been back to Italy since, and none of that happened to me. The go to Venice, the gondola guys are going to try to hustle you. They're going to try to hustle you too. You just have to say no. You just go in there knowing people are going to try to. That's true of anywhere most places you go where you're a tourist. Okay, like I've been to, you can go all kinds of places. They try to get you as a tourist. Yeah, exactly. First Amendment, Ed. You're exactly right, man. They see I'm American and they just see freaking dollar signs. Larimer is a neighborhood in Pittsburgh, mostly Italian. It's supposed to be the worst neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's kind of a hole. It's a hole. It is a hole now, Larimer. Same thing happened in nice neighborhoods in New York. Sovereign news first, out terrorizing via First Amendment. At least you had the good sense to haggle with them. I never, and that's the thing, Gary, is again, they probably nickel and dime me. Like, if they didn't try to snag me first, I'd have probably given that guy like a 5 euro tip. But I gave him the 10. I was like, I'll give you 35. I was like, you're not getting a tip. I was like, you're not getting a tip. And he's, oh, I have a family. It's so crazy. That's the thing too, and especially in Naples, is it's like it's true. Like I grew up in an Italian family. We're loud. We use our hands. Okay, but I'm second. My grandma came over when she was young, so I'm second generation born here in America. Okay, we don't have it like we used to have it. I went to Naples and it was like, oh my God, mamma mia. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable. And even here's the other thing about the funny thing, like. Homeless people here in the United States, okay, homeless people in the United States, they just, they carry a sign. They're fairly polite. I mean, I'm telling you, in Italy, you got the homeless. They come right up to you, man. Like they come right up to you, especially because you're an American. They come right up to you, and they would do like a full, I don't know what it's called, like when you bow on your hands and knees like this. Okay, they bow to you, and they would lay these old women in like these robes. I don't know if they were Roma, like the Romani people, gypsies, okay, and they would be on all fours, okay, laying on the ground with their hands out like this in a bowl. Like they were like it reminded me of like beggars in like Jerusalem in the 1st century AD or something. Okay, it was just intense. Scott, I think that's true. You said I have that nice guy look. That's probably true because even in if I have my suit on and I'm walking in, like some lawyers, they put their suit on and they're walking, they become unapproachable, right? You see this look on their face and it's just like blah, blah, blah. If I put my suit on, people think I'm like the public service announcer for lawyers. Like I kid you not, I walk around downtown Pittsburgh with a suit on. People will come up to me and say, and it actually works. From people will come up to me and say, "Are you a lawyer?" "Oh, I got this case." Just start talking to me about their case, but people also come up to me, ask me for directions. Is that the courthouse? Blah blah blah. I don't really mind, but it has to be my face because it literally just happens to me. Oh, that's how you ask for money from your wife. I love it, man. I love it. As a common visitor to Italy, you learn the look. Yeah, absolutely. Remember going to a restaurant in Florence when we asked the waiter for something to say, no capito, no capito, no capito, a tip. And suddenly he understood everything. I'll say that too. Like I tipped some of these dudes. I would tip these dudes because even some Americans don't tip because you don't really have to. I would tip these dudes and I'd put the tip out before I was done with my meal, and they'd be like I get the best service in the world. That's a little pro tip. If you're almost done with your meal, let them see you're gonna get it. They're gonna get a tip. They'll come over, clean you up, get you your dessert, man. I can spend a $5 on a cup of coffee, then ignore a guy begging for change, and not the supplication thing isn't going to work on me. Yeah, it didn't work. It doesn't work on me, Carl. And I don't see what you see in DC. I am sure, man. But I see it in downtown Pittsburgh, and I just I totally ignore it anymore. After they cash in 500 a few times, they go out, cars drive home to nice homes. Few are legit, most are not. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of them got to make bank. Some of them got to make bank. So da 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 da. But Gary, I'd rather give them a sandwich too. And I tested this out. This probably sounds like, so I went to Pitt, okay. And if you're familiar with Pittsburgh, Oakland, Pitt is an urban campus, maybe something like Temple. I mean, all the universities in New York City. Anyway, Oakland is a mix of it's like this old school Italians, okay, that used to live there, and then you got all these students that live there, and there's also poorer elements that live in Oakland. So when I went to Oakland and I was going to Pitt for college, I would walk down the street by this McDonald's every day, and there was this homeless dude every day, and he would chat you up a little bit, blah blah blah. And this was, again, I was in my 20s, and I probably haven't given $1 to a homeless person in over 10 years, but back then I did a couple of times. And I gave this guy some money on a couple of occasions, just quarters. And then I got sick of it because he just kept coming after me like he knew me. And so he came after me constantly. So this went on for probably about 6 months, maybe 1 or 2 semesters. And I went up to him one day and was like, look, I'm not going to give you money. I was like, but I'm going into McDonald's. I was like, you want a sandwich? He goes, nah, man. He goes, nah. Walks away. I know he was drunk every time I talked to him. I mean, there's no doubt. He was drunk. My permit isn't good in PA anymore. Concealed carry permit is invalid there. I stay in Virginia. Yeah, I don't know if PA has reciprocity. I mean, so I always say once these guys are done begging for money, they head across and park in Mercedes. In fact, my permit, absolutely. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I never do anymore. I never do. Okay, so I probably bored you guys with all my Italy stories. But, to get back, I want to go. So we did Ancestry, and it turns out I'm basically 3/4 Italian and 1/4 English. Okay. So I really want to go to England. I really want to go and see the UK. I live in America. That's our heritage as well. So that's next up for my trips overseas is maybe Ireland, Scotland, England, and maybe hop over to France. What do you guys want to talk about? I'm gonna hang around for a couple more minutes. I can tell another Italy story. That's all we talk about today. Thanks, Taze. Thank you, sir. Yeah, my mother's adopted, and we didn't know exactly what her ancestry was. It turns out she's 50% Italian and 50% English. I don't know. If you look on Ancestry, it's actually not. It's like England and France. Okay, so but we're gonna stick to the English part. Okay, Oh, you want to hear about the Pope? Or you want to hear another story? Thanks for the chat. Time to get. All right, Carl. See you later. Ask the question about Esquire. So you remember the British Accredited Registry? See, Gary, now it all makes sense. They know why they hate me. Yeah, I saw the Pope when I was there. He didn't slap my hand, but I was probably about 20 feet away. And I didn't want to go through the mass of people. This Pope doesn't have the bubble like the Pope mobile. But I got really close. So that was kind of neat. No, he didn't slap my hand or anything like that, but I did see him and he got close. And, he does like this Wednesday prayer. That's what I went to. You got to go in the morning. And I'm going to tell you, it just like church, just like Catholic Mass, it's incredibly boring. Because they get up there, like the Pope says a part of the prayer in Italian, and then some guys, another priest or bishop or whatever, stands up and says the same thing in Spanish. Another guy gets up and says the same thing in English. Another guy gets up, says the same thing in French. Then they do German. They do like 6 languages, and then the Pope gets up, okay, and does the next portion. I mean, I'm telling you, incredibly boring. Ron Paul. La Paul. You know Ron Paul's from Pittsburgh, Ed. Did you know that? Ron Paul went to my high school. Yes, that's the claim to fame. I went to Keystone Oaks High School. Ron Paul went to Keystone Oaks High School. Back then it was called Dormont High School. That's my high school's claim to fame. Ron Paul and Dennis Miller. Yeah, that's right. Dennis Miller. What do you guys think of that? Dennis Miller went to my high school. That guy who played Spock in the new Star Trek movies, he went to my high school too. None of them went with me. I remember being proud when the Pope blessed the audience in Vatican Square. Yeah, it was a similar experience, but it was like he gave a prayer. It's like some Wednesday blessing. I don't know if he does it every Wednesday. Going to London tomorrow. Need anything? Yeah, a plane ticket to come join you, Scott. A plane ticket. I want to check it out. Okay, one more Italian story. All right, I got some laughs. Like Lynn, somebody laughed pretty hard at my last one. Okay, here's my last Italian story. So I was staying at this an apartment building through Airbnb, which was really cool. It was this Italian woman. She was probably in her 60s. She lived alone. She had 2 rooms she Airbnb'd out. First night I was there was like some Korean girls. Later on, there was like this Australian couple in there. Anyway, Zachary Quinto, bang, got it, Gary. He went to my high school. So, and this woman was really nice. She put out these little pastries every morning. She'd put out little stuff to make espresso. There was a bowl of fruit. I mean, it was freaking great. She didn't have to pay for that. This is in Naples. I didn't have to pay for that. Naples is the craziest, like, it's crazy city. It's dirty. Okay. But it's also a ton of fun. If you're one of those people who has to go on vacation and, you don't like to get down and dirty, don't go to Naples. Okay. But Naples is fun. I mean, Naples is a lot of fun. Okay. So, down at the bottom of the street, there was a grocery store. I'm the kind of guy, again, I lived in Japan for 2.5 years. Me and my one buddy, when we were in Tokyo, we just picked a direction one day and walked for about 2 hours and then walked back. And we would stop into stores and chat with people and go to a bar and get a beer. I love exploring like that. So I was in this neighborhood in Naples, and I walk down the street and I go into this tiny supermarket. Okay. And there's a woman probably in her 30s or 40s at the counter. Okay. And I'm walking around and I'm just looking. I just like to see what they have, the foods and stuff, a lot of seafood, and I grab a couple things I put in my basket. And I'm walking around, right? And I come back around because it's like a circle store. It's like a square. I come back around. Okay. And there's a man standing there, a kid on his bike, and the woman at the register. And the woman and the man are screaming at each other at the top of their lungs. It's obvious that they're husband and wife. Okay. My parents are Italian, so I know what it looks like. Anyway, and the guy has this long loaf of bread, and he's like clutching it like a weapon. Okay, while he's screaming, like it was like a sword. Like I could feel the tension. Like he wanted to stab her with it, and she's pointing at him like this, yelling at him at the top of his lungs. And I'm there, and there was another customer in the store, and I'm like ready to buy my stuff, and I'm like, what the hell is like? I'm like scared. Like I have to wait for this to end before I go up. And she's pointing at him and yelling in his face. Okay, and the kid circles a little bit on his bike, and he just rolls right out like it's another freaking Tuesday. Okay, finally the argument stops. The man's like, blah, 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 like something swearing, and he like storms out the door. Okay, I thought he was going to hit her with that loaf of bread. He never did. And I'm like scared. Okay, and she looks at me with the biggest smile, like she's the nicest person in the world. Like she went from the meanest person in the world to the nicest person in the world. Oh, come on up? What would you like? And I come up, and she's like, oh, you speak English? You American? Oh, okay. I have family in America. Spoke a little bit of Italian. Okay, the nicest person in the world. Let me bag your stuff. I'll tell you. She's putting it in the bag, and this and that, and she, oh, thank you for coming. Come again. I love Americans. Blah blah blah. And she's like, buy this and this, and like she gave me like a free snack. Okay, and I walked out of there, and my mind was blown. I didn't know what had just happened. Okay, like dude, she was ready to rip her husband's throat out, and then 5 seconds later, she was the nicest woman I ever met in my life. So I walked out of there, and I was just like, what the hell just happened in here? And she knew you New York too. Yeah, I bet she did, Gary. I bet she did. But that's what I tell, like, that's Naples, like that little incident in the store, and the guy trying to scheme me out of money. And everywhere you go with Naples, and they're like the Neapolitans, like they see you're American, like they actually kind of think that's cool. Like I went to a pizza shop, and a guy, because they don't see as many Americans. Like there's just no way. I mean, I don't want to say that. There's an Air Force base there and whatnot, but it wasn't like Rome. Like in Rome, you're just another freaking tourist. And Rome is beautiful, but you're just another tourist. Okay, that's it. There's nothing special. But I went to Naples. People were like, "Oh, American!" They wanted to chat with me. Yeah, Lynn, I got to tell you. It was, I mean, she was the nicest person. I was like, wow, okay. And she had just wanted to, literally, I think she wanted to murder her husband. But the kid knew what was going on. Like, it was just another day to him, and he rolled out with his bike. Like, it made me laugh, like, thinking about it. So yeah, I mean, Gary, I'm not saying the Neapolitans are, but, and maybe, look, I've never been to France, so I can't say. I got a very different vibe in Rome, and I've been back to Italy. I've been to Rome. I've been to Florence. I've been to Venice. Okay, very different vibe in all of those cities compared to Naples. Naples was like a different world. And so that's why I'm excited to go to Calabria and southern Italy, because I have a feeling it's even more like Naples and Sicily, and plus the weather's nicer there. It's warm and beautiful. Naples equals military, which means more money. Oh, one more story. I'm sorry, I just can't help. I have a friend who kind of a friend. Well, I'm just going to call her friend. Okay. Who was in the Navy and stationed in Naples. And she lived in a building or in a neighborhood that had a lot of mafia. And before she was set to leave, like get her orders out of there, okay, she had this little dog. Okay. And the dog goes missing. And what happens is, and I don't know all the details, but the general thrust of the story is correct. I don't know if she got a message through a friend or a note, okay? But they started to pass these messages to her. People were saying to her, we have your dog. They kidnapped her dog, okay? They wanted like 200 euros to turn the dog back over. So here's this woman, she's in the Navy, and this isn't that long ago. This was like 10 years ago. She's in the Navy, and she's got like a freaking chihuahua, and she's got her orders to leave the base. Anybody who's been in the military knows, like, you have dates, like, you got to go, man. Like, those dates come up, you got to go. Like, they're not going to care if you want to stay in country for a fucking dog. Okay, excuse my language. So they pass her these notes to $200 to get her dog back. Okay, so what is she going to do? She gets the money together, and I kid you not, she meets these mobsters in an alley and pays them $200, and they give her the dog back. So her dog got ransomed. Last time I was in Paris, I was a teen sitting in the backseat of a car. A guy opened a door and tried to drag me away. By the way, I'm not a guy. That's wild, man. That's wild. My wife is the opposite. She doesn't yell at me. She's Filipino and does tempo on me. She won't talk to me at all. That's even worse, Ed. That's even worse, man. Go to the Philippines. You negotiate about everything. Yeah, I'd love to go. The further north you go, the more civilized. It's so true, Gary. It's just like Florence was very civilized. Even Rome. Venice was a little like these gondoliers, man. They were crooks. Had my first culture shock last December. Where'd you go, Roscoe? The big guys in the front seat stopped and was able to get me back in the area. Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about Paris too. I think that sounds peaceful, Ed. Yeah, right. I know, right? Ed, if you don't mind me asking, where did you meet your wife when you were you in the military? Is that how you met her? I'm just curious. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Boom, 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 boom. I see that it's coming around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. You know, I was scared in New York. Taze, I'm not complaining. I'd rather not be yelled at. Ed, where'd you meet your wife? Okay, that's cool. That's awesome, man. I was just curious because when I was in Okinawa, like Taze brought up, Kadena, a lot of my buddies, I lived with her for 6 months in Manila. No way. That's awesome. Okinawa, Japan has a large Filipino presence. And so I have a decent number of friends who dated or married Filipino women who were in the military. Most of the guys who got married over there married Japanese women or local Okinawans, but a lot of them married Filipino women. I love Filipino food, you know, not to say that I know it that well, but when I was over there, we used to go to a bar/restaurant called Manila Bay, and we would go to Manila Bay and we would eat and we would drink, and yeah. And I actually had a couple of friends who were Filipino in the military. Now, I don't know if Filipinos can join the American military, but they were like West Coast, etc. You know, I had a lot of friends from Guam because Guam's a U.S. territory. A lot of Guamanians join the military, probably because there's just not that many places to go if living in Guam. So a lot of them joined the military. A lot of Guamanian friends, a bunch of Filipino friends. One of my best friends, his dad, he was basically an Air Force brat. His dad was in the military, married a Filipino, so he was half Filipino, half white. He lived in Florida, and we went over his mom's house for dinner, and it was amazing. In her whole house, it had like all the Filipino decor. It was really cool. One day, do you think you can talk about copywritten material versus public domain? Absolutely, Bob. Absolutely. Okay, sorry I didn't talk about the law today, everyone, or sovereign citizens. I'm just tired. I didn't sleep well last night. I'm coming back on tomorrow, so anything you guys want to talk about, let me know. I was there when Okinawa went from driving on right side on the left side. It was a soup sandwich. I bet, man. Been to Bohol. We stayed on Pangalo Island for a couple of weeks. Yeah, Philippines. I really want to visit the Philippines. I mean, see pictures. It's just unbelievable. It just looks amazingly beautiful. Amazingly beautiful. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my Italy stories. I got some Japan stories too. those are less consumer friendly because, believe it or not, when I was young, I used to drink a lot, and like most of us do, I don't really drink much anymore. But when I was in Okinawa, yeah, we did some really dumb stuff. I mean, we did some dumb stuff, but I had a lot of fun. Okay, everybody, good night. Stay safe. Thank you for coming in. Tomorrow we'll talk sovereign citizens. I'm going to talk about copyright law and free usage, public domain. I'll tell you a little bit of what I know. It is a specialized area. But I actually researched a lot of it to start my YouTube channel because, you know, I grab videos from other places on the internet and I use them. Most of that is under free usage, is under fair use. It's called fair use. You guys stay cool as well. It's like in the 50s here in Pittsburgh, Bob. You know what I mean? So I'm loving this weather. Okay, Common Sense Academy. Joe the Lawyer. If you haven't signed up for my new channel, go check it out. I know most of you guys are there. I could just, you know, I'm trying to find a flow on that channel. So I'll tell you what else. If anybody has recommendations for things they want me to cover on this channel, just straight law stuff, no sovereign citizen and no auditor stuff. If there's law stuff you want me to cover, let me know. I got requests for the Second Amendment. If there's anything else you guys want to know, put the link. Okay, hang on a second. Let me drop the link real quick. Let me drop the link before we go. Because it's like I was making a channel. It's like informational stuff. Okay, but I don't know if it's vibing with people. I mean, I got a decent number of subscribers. I just want to I just wonder, you know, I'm sure there's a sweet spot for what people want to hear on that channel. I just don't know what it is, but I would like to know. I would like to know. But please subscribe, drop me a comment of any content on that channel you guys will be interested in that I don't drop on here. Okay, good night.